discussion by the board at this time? I think most of you have a copy of it in the packet. Is that correct? Mr. County Attorney, do you want to present that?
Be glad to.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, the sheriff at our last meeting gave a report regarding public safety in the county buildings, and the board asked me to draft the ordinance, which I did, and present it to you for your review. And there are several exemptions in the ordinance in Section 4, one of which allows the sheriff to consider people that want to carry their weapons in county buildings. The sheriff can be the gatekeeper for that. And this makes, in my view, it makes sense, since he is the one that can do background checks on people. If you're going to carry a weapon in the county building, since it's the law has been changed, people can inherit handguns. You don't know the background of that person that's carrying that handgun. And it seems to me that the sheriff is the gatekeeper for public safety. He should be the one that makes that decision. So that's why I put that exemption F in there. I sent the board a memorandum of law detailing the U.S. Constitution and state constitution, and I also gave you copies of other local government ordinances that prohibit carrying open carry and concealed carry in buildings. So I'll be happy to try and answer any questions.
Any questions for County Attorney?
I've got a lot I want to talk about. I want to do it now or while he's there, it doesn't matter to me.
Let's discuss that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
On an immediate comment, Clyde Albright mentioned that to me, that the sheriff could write a note, and I'm basically going to maybe paraphrase what I told him. That's a joke. The law is already there for concealed carry. That's the note. That's the paper. And the Founding Fathers wrote the most important note ever to be written, the Constitution. We don't need a note for law-abiding citizens to do what the government's already said is allowable, and or what can be changed, which I hope we'll do this morning on something. What's happening are knee-jerk reactions to what has taken place in Raleigh, and it's political, it's partisan, and it's political, meshed together. You had a law in Raleigh that was passed. What was the number of that law? House Bill 937. Is that it? I asked for this. House Bill 937, and it was voted right down party line. If you look at the registration of the representatives that voted for that or against that, and that was, I think, facilitating better acceptance of concealed carry in society. It was right down party lines. Democrats opposed it. Republicans were in favor of it. Right down, I don't think there was more than one or two crossover votes, from what I was told by the clerk's office in Raleigh. This very morning, Person County is doing the same thing we're doing. And there's countless challenges all over the state about concealed carry in parks. Again, Person County's voting on this. This morning was their second reading. It's politics. When I first found out that this was coming to light, I begged Craig Honeycutt, and you know I did, to think this through. And if you did, I don't think you thought far enough. Jeremy Akins, is that his last name?
Yes, sir.
He told me last week that when he wrote the email, which we didn't get a copy of until I requested a copy of it, he sent an email to the sheriff, to Craig, and to Clyde Albright that people had come in the tax office armed, and they were disturbed by it. Same issue, Person County. me that after he did the email, he didn't realize after he'd done the email that they hadn't broken any laws. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's stunning to me. And, I don't like to make notes of what I want to talk about, but I'll try to keep it brief. But our country is falling apart. You see on TV where people are coming up to you on the sidewalk, just bam, right behind, knockout. It's a game called knockout. Because there's no fear.
I think that only happens in the north.
I tell my son to watch out for it here, and everywhere he goes. And I watch out for it. But the bottom line is, your country is falling apart. I think you have law enforcement agencies that are in fear of the public having guns to a big degree. You have law enforcement people that have told me recently they think you ought to submit to a search of your car without a warrant. Quote to me by the police, I'm not ashamed to say it, by the police chief of Burlington, not Sheriff Johnson, but the police chief of Burlington told me that if you have nothing to hide, you ought to submit to having your car searched. And I said, are you kidding me? That's exactly what he told me. They believe in sitting on street corners, watching certain establishments, while they let the elitist establishments, where there's just as much violation of the laws, go unchecked, because they know they'll catch heck if they sit outside the country club, if they sit outside other establishments. But boy, they'll sit outside a local bar and then tailgate you for a mile, praying that you screw up, and then pull you. And I am stunned at what I'm seeing in this nation. And I had more to say. I'm just frustrated at the whole situation. The concealed carry law that we have, I want to make a motion that we do away with that. It was done in 1995, October of 95. I signed it. I'm not going to lie to you. Junior signed it, Larry, me, John. I don't know who the other one was.
Morfield.
Who?
Morfield.
Yeah, Ricky Morfield. Lord, does it go that far back? Yeah, I hadn't been on the board but about a year. And there was no debate.
You were born on this board.
You were. But I signed it, sure I signed it, because there was a debate back then about this issue. But I would rather have a concealed carry than anything, because they've gone through the training, they've gone through the classes, and I think I'm going to get me a concealed carry after all this. I'm more passionate than people think about guns. I own them. But by George, our freedom was won at the end of one. And people never, ever better forget that. And I believe in order for us to keep our freedom, it'll be at the end of one, if things don't get better. My son has had a gun held to his head in the city of Burlington on his temple and robbed. We found out who it was. One's in jail now over it. But that's when he bought his first pistol. There's a paranoia about guns in America. People that don't like them just, Thank God our founding fathers didn't feel that way. And our militias. And our military. Thank God they don't feel that way. So, I'm not going to support this ordinance, and I would like to make a motion after this is over with to repeal what we've already got on the books that we did in 1995 and allow concealed carry in the building. Now, you've got counties that have done the complete opposite. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'll tell you, you didn't seem to find anybody that had different rules. But I did on the second phone call. Randolph County. Now, on the first phone call, was to Davidson County. Davidson County has no rules at all, because I was told that their county commissioners went closed session years ago and said there was no proof at all that having these rules made anybody any safer. Now, on the second phone call, that was the first phone call. The second phone call was Randolph County. Yes, they banned everything. So I'm not going to sit up here and say nobody's not done this. I expect Person County is going to do the same thing this morning. You got 4 out of 5 Democrats on their board and a Democrat sheriff. And I'll still say it's partisan. It's political. But I'm not going to vote to ban what law-abiding citizens have the right to do. Matter of fact, I think we should be able to make it easier for them. And I'm sorry if I belabored it, and I mean, there's a lot of things I want to say. That wasn't all. Maybe I'll think of it later. I'll shut up.
I have a gun, by the way.
Good for you.
Any further discussion on this issue?
Well, I think I support the concealed carry. I have a concealed carry, and I think the safest that we gonna ever be is when we got concealed carry permits, and the people have that control, or that gun in their pocket. You know, that's when you're safe. When everybody in the room don't know who's got a gun, and I think the people who have concealed carry are the safest people there are to have in your presence. So I'm going to support Tim Sutton's motion.
Well, let's get this issue settled first that is on the agenda. Is there any further discussion concerning the proposed ordinance, which has not been introduced? It's just been proposed. Any other question? Is there a motion? Hearing no motion, the issue is dead. Now, Tim, I think you have a motion you want to make?
Yes, sir. I thought I'd already made it, but formally I will make it. It doesn't make sense. It does. The logic doesn't flow. The continuity doesn't flow. That if you're going to say it's okay for open carry, it's illegal to be to not be allowed to carry concealed carry. It doesn't flow. Due to the training that's required, the classes that are required, the sheriff's handling of it personally, more personally than maybe the other, it doesn't flow to allow one and then ban the other. So I want the laws to be in a continuity fashion, and law should flow. And so I make a motion to repeal, if that's the right word, the 1995 ordinance that I signed. I'm not going to sit up here and say I didn't sign it. I did sign it. Didn't know any better. But I do now. And that we repeal that ordinance.
Motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the issue from the board? All in favor of the motion to repeal the ordinance signed the second day of October 1995, ordering the posting of signs to prohibit the carrying of concealed handguns on county property. This motion is to repeal that ordinance. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, the item on the agenda is the annual comprehensive financial